In this video, we're going to talk about Riverside. Riverside is what I've been using to record all of my video podcasts. It is my platform of choice for any type of remote interview or to any type of remote shooting I have to do because it is extremely high quality. It's like the best quality you could get out of someone else's computer when you are hundreds or thousands of miles away. So in this video, I'm going to give you a full tour in Riverside's remote recording studio. All right, so let's go over setting up Riverside for the first time. So I have logged in, I'm at the dashboard, and now I see my studios. And studios, you kind of really just need one studio for your show. It's not like you need to make a studio for each time you record or each guest you invite. The studio is going to be where it houses your recordings. It's going to be sort of the outward identifier. So kind of name it something after your show. It's going to be the URL you give to people. But once you set it up once, you can reuse it forever. So I just have two studios for two different shows I was working on. But really, you kind of just need one studio per show or use case, maybe. So let's make one right now. I'm going to call it The Amazing Video Podcast Show. And then you have the option if you want the recording type to be audio and video or audio only. This is a course about making a video podcast. So we're going to have the video option on. And then we're going to go into the studio, or you can just click save and set it up and enter it later. So now we have the page that you get when you join your studio, and this is always going to come up every time. It will save your name, so you don't have to type in your name every time, but it will confirm if you are or are not using headphones. And you want to use headphones ideally every time. If you choose I'm not using headphones, then it's going to add additional processing to do some noise cancellation. So when the other person's speaking, it's going to turn your audio off so that there's no audio feedback. So I prefer that to not have that extra processing by the computer that it doesn't need to do. So wearing headphones means it's not going to do that extra processing, and your audio is going to sound better, and you have less of the risk of the audio being picked up by other microphones. So bottom line, wear headphones. And then over here on the right, you can confirm your settings for your camera and your microphone. So I'm using the Rodecaster Pro setup for my input. I could also change it and use my camera input, which is USB digital audio, same as my video input. And then the speaker is where you want to hear audio. So it could either be your system default, or you can choose where you want to output it to. So then you just want to confirm all of your settings are good. And down here, it also does mention that you're joining as a host. So I will be joining as a host, but I could be joining as a producer. And as we explained earlier, the different settings between the host and producer. Host is someone that's going to be on camera. Producer is someone who has control of the studio so they can start and stop recording, but they're not going to appear on camera. Or their camera will appear as... Oh, you can see that I'm switching. Their camera will appear as like a guest, and their mic can turn on and off, but they're going to be a little bit more behind the scenes, and it's not going to be recorded. So like you could hear them if you need to, like if you need to talk to someone, your producer, and they're able to monitor everything, but they're not someone that's going to be a participant in the actual recording. So I'm back to host, and then just double check everything looks and sounds good, and then I'm going to click join the studio. And so now my camera I can see my camera appearance here. I can also see my audio levels already coming in right here. And yeah, so this is the space. So it's got the gap right now for my guest that I have invited and I'm waiting to invite or waiting to join. Just a quick overview of the interface here. We can come back into the settings of our studio. If we click the settings button, I can adjust my settings again if I need to. I can turn on echo cancellation if I need to. That's the option. If I were to pick I was not wearing headphones, it would turn on echo cancellation, but I would prefer it does not do that. If I want the video to appear mirrored or not, so if there was text behind me or something for whatever reason, I wanted to turn that mirroring off. But as it notes here, it doesn't affect the recording. So it's going to record my camera in the normal way. And then I could change my name if I needed to. Coming down here, these are the settings for the studio space itself. And so these are the name of the show or the name of the studio space. So studio type, you can choose whether you want to set it public or private. And this comes down more to audience. And if you want audience to be able to watch your show as you're recording live, we'll get into that in a future lesson, just kind of some extra options you have where you can have audience. There's another level of audience members and also a call-in option. We'll cover that in a future lesson. But right now, the default is set to public, where if someone had the link, they could watch the recording live if they also knew what time you're recording. Or if you wanted to totally disable that, you can click private. And then waiting room is something that I usually turn on. And that's similar to Zoom. If your guest joins, it'll pop up with a notification and then you can let them in. If you have some stuff to do before they come in, or you just don't want to be surprised with your guests popping in right away, you can turn on waiting room. And so that will put them in a waiting room, give you an alert, and then you can let them in. So I'm just gonna turn that on. Coming down to recording. So this one's super important, and these are the recording settings that the studio is gonna use. So again, if we just wanted to record audio only, you could turn that on here. It's a video podcast, so no, we're not going to do that. You can turn on noise reduction if you wanted to. So if you were in a noisy space or your guest was in a noisy space and you weren't going to run this through any other additional editing or processing systems afterwards, and you just wanted to try to get the best audio out of this recording session as possible, you could turn that on. But ideally, you want to keep that off, and you can try to adjust it later. And then we have selecting our audio sample rate. So I like to choose 48 kilohertz to get a higher sample rate. And then down here, we can choose how you want to record. I would not opt for the recommended if you have the bandwidth, and if you know that the guest that you're going to interview has the bandwidth. But this is optimized in the sense that it's going to be lower resolution on the video, but that means it'll be smaller file sizes, which would be a quicker upload for the video. So as it says here, that your guests are recorded at a maximum of 720p, which is pretty low for HD space. So if you've got the space, if you've got fast internet, and you know your guests tend to have fast internet, I would go for advanced quality. And so it's going to record, we have two options here. We could either max out the recordings at 1080p, which is regular standard HD video size, or we can go up to 4K, which I tend to do. I have fast internet. Usually the people I talk to have fast internet, and we'll go over what happens on the upload end from their end. It does take a little bit longer to process on the back end of Riverside, but I've got time, so I'm good with that. So as long as the camera supports it. Now, it's not magically going to make someone recording on their webcam, which only does 720. It's not going to magically make their footage appear better. But if someone has a 4K camera connected, or if you have a 4K, most likely you're going to be the one that has the 4K camera connected, then you want to be able to record in that full resolution and get all of that data and get everything recorded. So I like to have that selected, but choose the best option for you. If you're going on, if like YouTube's your huge target, YouTube supports 4K, and so I would opt for going 4K. Also, that kind of future-proofs you. You know, when more things roll out and they have higher video resolution support, your podcast, your episodes are already good to go because you recorded it in 4K. If you're just recording this because you want to pull social media clips from it, then maybe 1080, would be good enough for you, or even optimized. Or if you know that your guests are going to be in places that have poor internet, then optimized might also be the best option. Then also you have this option. I like to turn this on too. I'm a big fan of backups, where in addition to, because the way Riverside works, it's recording local copies to each person's computer and then uploading it in the background. And so the local copies it records are much higher quality. But I also just liked this option where it will also record internet. It'll record a backup to the internet of whatever streaming. So it'll be lower quality, but at least it's something. So I don't know, worst case scenario, the file gets corrupted or the file doesn't upload, or the person logs off and never finishes uploading the file. You still have some form of the recording backed up from what it recorded on the internet. So I'm a fan of backups. I like to have that. Other options here is live streaming. I'll cover this in a future episode of additional options and things you can do with Riverside, so I'm not going to cover this right now. And then in advanced, we have a couple options here. This is if you had to throttle your internet, or if you had something that you had to adjust when Riverside is uploading stuff, you can turn this on to control when stuff is being uploaded. But there's really not much of a reason for this unless you have a specific use case, so I just keep it on auto. And those are our settings for setting up our studio space, and that's what I like to use when I'm setting up the studio space. Quick break from the video. If you are enjoying it so far and you're finding it interesting, and maybe you want to learn a little bit more about video podcasting, then you're going to want to check out my Skillshare course on everything you need to know about video podcasting using Riverside. It's got everything start to finish, all the gear, all the stuff I just said. We cover all of that in the course. You can check out that course. It is on Skillshare. I've got the link below for you to go check it out. Real quick, if you have not signed up for Riverside, or maybe you have and you're debating getting a paid subscription, if you use the code Joey, Joey, when getting any of the paid plans, that'll give you 15% off any of those options. And now back to the video. Now let's take a look at the controls here. If you've used Zoom or any other video conferencing tool, these are going to feel very familiar. Obviously, a big fat red button here, recording start and stop. Microphone, if you hover here, you can quickly adjust what your microphone, camera, and speaker inputs are, so you don't have to go into settings to change any of that. You can just do it all right here. You can also click to turn on and off any of these things. And then also you can screen share too. So if you want to just share your screen, or if your guest wanted to share their screen, you can enable that here. And the nice thing about screen sharing is it also records as its own track. So in addition to having your video track recording and your guests will have their video track recording, anyone that shares their screen will also have that as a separate video track. So it's great later on for editing if you need to. Great to have that option. Over here, we have the invite people. So I like to just keep this link on. This is the nice thing about having that studio space is you have this link that's generated and you don't have to make it every time you want to invite a guest. So I've got my template set up when I invite a guest and I keep my studio link in there and it's always the same and I don't have to change it every time. So that's super handy and super cool. So you have your link, you could just send it out and the link is generated based on what level you want to invite the person at. So you can see here, by default, it's going to be guests. That's most likely what you're going to invite them as. You can invite them as an audience member, which I will cover in a future lesson of what you can do with audiences if you want to do a kind of live recording or invite people to your recording. And then you can invite them as a producer. And so again, that's someone who will be able to control settings in here, but it's not Riverside's not going to record their audio and video. You'll be able to see and hear them from the back end on our end back here in Riverside, but they're not going to be recorded. And they can control the settings and stuff. So it's helpful if you need a second person in here to control the tech stuff and worry about marking clips and stuff. That's what the producer role would be for. Also down here on the bottom, leave. So that's where you would end the meeting or stop the recording. And then other thing I like to do when I come into the session is name this session. So later on, I can come back in the recording space in Riverside. I can quickly figure out, what I was recording or what that session is. If you click the little down arrow, you can see what settings everything's recording at. So we've got because I turned on 4K, it's showing me that's at 4K, 24 frames a second, the sample rate. And then over here, this is the other thing I love about Riverside is it gives you so much info about your technical specs and your guests. And the guest one is key because this is how I troubleshoot guests when I know that their mic is not, like if I hear their audio and it sounds like I see a microphone in their frame, but their audio sounds awful, I'm like, I don't think your microphone is properly configured and I don't think you picked the right microphone when you signed in here. This is how I can troubleshoot that and figure out what is wrong. So when I'm logged on, I know what my settings are, but when the guest logs on, I'll get the same exact info box. I'll be able to see their levels and I could adjust their levels here if for whatever reason they were really loud. I could see what kind of input quality they're getting. I can see how they joined because there is iPhone support and other device support. And then I can see the same thing I have here where I have, their USB video input. I can see that. I can see that my microphone right now is set to my USB video input, but it could be set to my Rodecaster. And I can see the speakers, what they're set to. So usually with a guest, if I see they're wearing AirPods, but maybe the audio doesn't sound that great, I can look here and, if I see MacBook computer microphone and not AirPods, I can be like, oh, hey, can you check your mic inputs again? Because I don't think you selected AirPods. So this is great for troubleshooting and figuring out if the guest, in fact, has connected properly to the microphone that they should be on. Love this for that. Love that for you. And also down here, again, I could turn echo cancellation on, but if you're wearing headphones, you don't need that. And then I could also click preview recording, and this shows me a higher quality image. Like I mentioned before, where you might see a lower quality image in the video screen because it's just giving you a lower quality preview image. If I wanted to see like what it actually looks like, you can just click preview recording and you'll get a higher quality image. I don't really use that, but it's there if you need to. So yeah, this is not as exciting because it's only me in this room right now, but as more guests would arrive, I would be able to see the options appear here. And then also if anyone's in the waiting room, because I have the waiting room enabled, I would be able to see them here, and then I can click the little checkbox and let them in. All right, so that's the main kind of overview of like the basics of everything. Now there's still a couple extra things in here that we can cover and extra bonus features that Riverside has. So it's got a live media board. So you can load in video clips or audio clips of sound effects or intro songs, whatever you want. And that's a lot of cheering. You can play these sound effects. These are the ones that come loaded default with Riverside, but you can rename it, or you can click and add your own media files, whatever you want. And also down here, you can see that it's a preview mode, so I can click on it and listen to it, but no one else hears it. And then if it's on live mode, people would hear it. I'll be honest, I really don't use this thing that much, but I just don't do those types of shows. So this, I feel like, really comes more into play if you are kind of doing more of a like live type show or more of a conversational chat show, and you want to kind of have some sound effects or intro music or something that you want to be able to cue on command right here. This was where that comes into play. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool that it has it. If you are also trying to do a show and you really didn't want to do any editing and you just wanted to like have your intro music lined up and all that stuff, you could, hit the record button, play your intro music, and then start your show right away. And then by the time you're at the point when you're done with the entire recording, your whole thing's done because you already played your intro music and all that stuff, and you don't have to worry about taking it into another program to edit it after. So if that's something you want to do, you got the tools to do it right here. And also the nice thing is these sound effects will also record as their own track. So again, afterwards, if you wanted to go into editing and maybe you wanted to get rid of the sound effects, or if the sound effects cut off the audio of someone else or you couldn't hear them and you want to hear them, you can fix that later in editing in another program, which will also be covered in part 2 of this course. And then lastly, there is a chat box here. And so you can, if your guest was maybe having speaker or microphone issues, you could type a message to them and communicate with them. Also, this is a way you can communicate just, if you need to send a message or something while you're recording, or maybe your producer needs to like post a message for everyone to see who's recording, but they don't want to interrupt the actual recording process of the show because people are talking. This is where you can send a message. And also, and we'll go into it in future lesson, but audience can have permission to submit messages here in the chat area. So if you were doing like a live recording or had a live audience, this would also be a way that they could submit questions through text without actually having to be on the show. Last thing, covering Riverside, the entire overview of how this interface works. This one you don't really have to worry about too much, but just as you're recording, this little cloud icon up here. So as you are recording your episode, simultaneously Riverside is uploading the original media of your guests in the background to their server. And if your guest has fast internet, this will happen pretty much in real time and there won't be much of a lag. But if they have slower internet, then it might take a little bit of time for that to upload. But you can see how that's going. So when you're recording, this little cloud icon will show you a percentage of how much of the media has been uploaded. Obviously, as you're recording, it will never be 100% because you're still recording. But if you see, when I'm recording and my guest has fast internet, it'll hover around 99% the whole show. And then when I click stop recording, by the time everything is, a couple seconds after, their upload will be done in the background. So this is an indicator where you can just see how much of your guest has uploaded in the background. And I'll go over in a future lesson what will happen with your guest if they have really slow internet and they need to leave the upload happening. I'll cover what would need to be done in the future. They don't have to stay on. You don't have to stay on with them while their stuff uploads. I'll explain what you can do. Okay, that is for real the end of our overview of the Riverside interface. And so in the next lesson, we will cover bringing actual guests into your studio and actually recording your video podcast episode. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting. If you got any other questions about Riverside, let me know down in the comments. Maybe I'll pop out another video. But if you are really, really curious about Riverside and video podcasting as a whole, then you should definitely check out my course on Skillshare, all about video podcasting and how to use Riverside to produce super high quality video podcasts from anywhere in the world. So we cover all the gear, all the settings inside Riverside, how to export your clips, how to pull clips out for social media and sharing and posting on Facebook and TikTok and all that good stuff. So that is all covered in the course. So go check it out. Links are all below in the description. And again, if you want to sign up for Riverside, use the code JOEY. That'll get you 15% off. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next episode.